Hello and welcome to another 30-minute Thursday. My name is Amit. It is 2 p.m. in the summertime. I love it. My face is tan, Pacific Northwest. We are live on Facebook. I owe everyone an apology, first of all, because I kind of dropped the ball last week. I forgot to tell everyone that I was going to be out of town. I was at a wedding. I haven't been at a lot of weddings over the last several years, and now over the past few months, I've been at quite a few, and I'm excited. I like weddings. I enjoy going to parties. I'm a romantic at heart, and I love love. So, but I'm sorry, I was out of town, and I completely dropped the ball on letting y'all know that I was out of town, which is kind of my bad. But that said, we're back now, and my colleague and associate Dana is working with the stack of books here to help me figure out the height for the computer. See, hands free, and yet the screen is moving. It's weird. It's a magic trick. All of this is magic, including the beautiful studios here at New American Funding behind me. You see my logo. One of these days, I'm going to tell you what that logo is all about right here, but not today. Today, I first and foremost want to tell you that I'm sorry that I missed you. I hope everyone is doing great. I hope you're staying healthy, staying safe, staying sane, and also enjoying a fantastic summer. For those of you not fortunate enough to be in the Pacific Northwest, I don't think that there's a more beautiful part of the world than right here in the summertime. Now, that doesn't mean that we want y'all to show up here and decide that you want to move here and jam up the traffic. Although if you do want to move up here, I know lots of great real estate brokers. I know lots of great mortgage lenders who would be more than happy to help you with that transition. But honestly, the Pacific Northwest is glorious. Just to give you an idea of what it is outside right now, as I drove up here, it was 80 degrees. Blue skies, sunshine, not a cloud in the sky, and it will be light-ish. I can't say it's like full sun, but it'll be light until about 10 o'clock tonight. That is so cool. It's glorious. And the weddings that we went to one was at a place called Friday Harbor, which is in the San Juan Islands, which is just, I thought where I live is gorgeous, but there's some areas around the corner here, down the street, so to speak, that are just beyond words spectacular. And that's one of them. Highly recommended if you are going to go out there. They've got a ferry that you can drive your car onto, and it costs like $90 round trip for a couple of passengers and the car. And once you get to Friday Harbor, the wedding was actually at a place called Roche Harbor, which is about a 20-minute drive on the island. But then you park your car, and the rest of the time it's basically walking. It's just absolutely beyond words. Beautiful marina, and when the sun is shining and the sky is blue and there's no clouds, it's just fantastic. And then last weekend I was in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is not a long drive. It's only from Seattle to Vancouver. For those of you who don't know, it's like 135 miles. Which is not that far. In Texas, you're oftentimes in the same county with that kind of drive, but there is a border that you've got to cross, and sometimes it's a longer wait than others. It's part of the fun of international travels. But in any event, I'm back now, and I'm here for a little while longer. Thursday, no, I'm here for a while. Yay, I'm here for a while. Great. So that notwithstanding, let's jump in both feet and talk about what's going on with the economy, what's going on with real estate, what's going on with mortgage lending, and where everything is. So I put a little promo on Facebook for this live to say that inflation is coming down, and it is. It's really, really exciting. Inflation is coming down. What does that mean exactly, and how do we know? Well, there's quite a few different metrics or matrices that, I think it's metrics. Yes, metrics that are used to judge and gauge the rate of inflation. The Federal Reserve Board likes something called the personal consumption expenditures. That's their favorite sort of matrix and metric for inflation. And it stacks a variety of different goods and services, and they're weighted in a different sort of way. Some are weighted more heavily than others. But beyond the PCE, the personal consumption expenditures. There's stuff that lay people, regular people like you and I, are much more familiar with if we listen to the news at all, or if we read about this stuff. One of them is called the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. That is a measure of like retail inflation based on a variety of things. For example, and there's two parts of CPI. There's core and there's headline. And the same thing with PCE, personal consumption expenditures. There's core and then there's headline. Now, the core strips out what they call volatile food and energy components. So as I said, going into these measurements, there's a variety of different services and goods that are tracked. The cost of these things are tracked from month to month. And if the cost goes up, then inflation goes up. And if the cost goes down, then inflation goes down. Some of these things are stripped out of the core reading. For example, food and energy are not counted in the core reading because, as the Fed likes to think, we're going to eat and we're going to buy energy, we're going to buy gas for our cars or heat for our homes, whether the price is high or whether the price is less high. Those things are not impacted by what the Fed can do to manipulate the cost of other things through their interest rates. Whatever the interest rates are, people are going to buy food. That's the theory, at least. But there's other things: used cars, healthcare, travel and leisure, rents, and owner's equivalent of rent, which is a really weird calculation. And all of these have a different weight or a different percentage assigned to them as a component of the overall consumer price index, personal consumption expenditures, and to a certain degree, also PPI, producers price index, which is basically the cost of wholesale materials, like the raw materials that go into the things that we buy. So in any case, CPI came out yesterday, Consumer Price Index came out yesterday, and Producers Price Index came out today. And for the first time in a long, long time, the CPI number is below 5%. That's a really big deal. That's a huge deal. It's actually much lower than that. And so the markets are starting to respond in a more favorable way, meaning that the investors that are buying bonds that are tied to both mortgages like what we create and other investments are looking at these numbers and saying, wow, this is really wonderful. Inflation is starting to come down. The Producers Price Index for the month of June. So when I say these numbers came out, what I'm saying is that the numbers that were released yesterday for Consumer Price Index and today for Producers Price Index is from June's sort of reading. So everything lags by a month at least in these numbers. But the the PPI, Producer Price Index, came out and it was almost at zero, meaning that the price of raw materials has just basically hit the floor, which is awesome. That's great. That's really, really exciting. And it suggests good things. But we got to be really, really cautious here, because what we're dealing with right now in our economy is a very Goldilocks sort of system and situation. We got to be cautious. And when I say we, that means really the Fed. You and I have very little control over any of this, right? We live our lives, we take our trips, we go to the weddings, we go to the barbecues, we go to the ball games, we go to the beach, we do what we do. We buy homes or we don't buy homes, et cetera, but we really don't have control, right? I often explain to people that when it comes to matters of the economy and big stuff like that, we're kind of like hood ornaments on a freight train. The train's going forward, and we've got no control. Yeah, we're at the front of the train, but I'm not driving. I don't have control of the wheel. So we're on the ride, and that's kind of where we are. But when I say we, I mean the Fed, the Federal Reserve Board, and specifically the Federal Open Market Committee. That's the group that decides what's going to happen with short-term interest rates. They got to be really, really careful, because right now they are threading the needle between a variety of different potential outcomes. All of them are terrible. Some of them are more terrible than others. Some of them are easier to fix than others. But they've all got impact on us and on the economy and on the bigger picture. And it's not just inflation and it's not just interest rates that they're trying to balance and juggle. There's a lot going on here. So yes, inflation is coming down, and that's great. This is the first of hopefully many more positive signs that show that the rate of inflation is coming down. And when it really takes hold and when it really starts to manifest itself as a reduction in inflation and in costs and in things like that, mortgage interest rates will come down. They're starting to trickle down right now, but they're trickling down from a very high level. The highest level I've seen personally in my 23-year career in mortgage lending. That's where we are right now. The highest rates that I've personally seen, and as a professional in the industry. And so for us to say they're starting to come down, that's awesome. It's better than them going up, of course, but they're coming down from a really elevated position. So we're still not there yet. In fact, I was talking to a client earlier today. I did a purchase loan for her a year ago, just about a full year ago, and their interest rate is 6% on the 30-year fixed. And I dare say that most of the clients that I'm working with today right now would love a 6% interest rate. But of course, this client, they were looking back in 2022 and even late 2021 when interest rates were lower than 6%, but the competition was fierce, and so they got beaten out of house after house after house, and they finally got one. And when they did, of course, the interest rates had started to move up, and so they would like to refinance to a lower interest rate. And I told her that we will. At some point, there's going to be that opportunity. That's not happening right now. And like I said, many of my clients today would love an interest rate in the 6% range. That would be a bargain for them, because we're firmly in the 7% or higher arena right now. And that's just where things are. Now, today and yesterday, we got great news. Things are starting to come down. But here's what's going on with the Fed. The Fed is terrified of inflation popping back up again. Just because we had a month of good readings doesn't necessarily mean that we're out of the woods and everything's okay. Think of inflation like a wildfire. Now, that's something that happens here in the Pacific Northwest, unfortunately, especially in the summertime, when it's dry like this and it's sunny like this and it's hot like this. If we get a lightning strike or if we get a fire bug, and yeah, we've got some arsonists out here that I'm not really fond of, or if someone throws a lit cigarette out of the car window on purpose, but not intending to cause a fire, we get these wildfires, much like in California. And they're incredibly destructive, and they're really, really horrible. And the firefighters, when they put them out, they go to tremendous time and trouble to make sure that everything's extinguished, right? Just because the fire's not raging doesn't mean that there's not a glowing ember somewhere that's ready to reignite. Right. So same thing with inflation and the Fed. Just because we've got a nice print of inflation right now and we're seeing that things are moving in the right direction doesn't mean that it can't jump up and flare up and start a whole nother fire. So they are very, very concerned, and good for them. It's about time. I was about to throw a four-letter word in there. It's about time. Let's leave it at that. They should have been doing this a year ago. Really, they should have been doing this 18 months ago, maybe even 20 months ago. But now they finally kind of decided that, yeah, this is a priority. And yes, absolutely, we have to get on top of this. So they want to make sure that that fire is completely extinguished. And one of the risks that they face is overcorrecting, right? I mean, this is something that is inevitable with large, slow-moving entities like our economy and like monetary policy. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Our economy is like a giant cruise ship, right? It does not turn quickly in the ocean. If you just grab the wheel and spin it, it's going to capsize, right? And the same thing with the Fed. If they continue to do things to jack up interest rates as aggressively as they have, and they're not cautious, they may capsize the economy. And what does that mean exactly? What does a capsized economy look like? The joke is, that the Fed's going to continue, and it's not a joke and like a ha-ha joke, it's like a, oh my God joke. But the going worry is that the Fed is going to continue to hammer on this stuff until something in the economy breaks. And then they're going to know, okay, we're there. And that's not a funny joke. But what that could look like is higher unemployment rates. In fact, the Fed has said that they want higher unemployment rates, because when unemployment goes up, meaning when people don't have jobs, then people who are fortunate enough to still have their jobs aren't going to go to their boss and say, hey, I need a raise. They may say that, and the boss may come back and say, there's a lot of people looking for work right now. The economy's not right. We're not giving any raises, or we're not giving any bonuses, or we're not giving any what they refer to as stay-on bonus. A stay-on bonus is basically your boss saying, hey, we love your work. We love you. We want you to stay with us. So here's some additional money to make sure that nobody else gets in front of you and discusses with you the idea of moving to their company. Stay-on bonus, sign-on bonus. None of that happens in an environment where unemployment is elevated. And so by definition, the Fed wants to see higher rates of unemployment, because they know that when people are not working, they're also not earning, they're not earning as much. And so income drops. And when your income comes down, or when you're not working, when your income goes to zero, basically, most people say, wow, we're going to hit the brakes on a lot of the things we were thinking about buying, right? Unless it's an absolute necessity, or core purchases, food and energy, right? No matter what, you're still going to buy food. No matter what, you still need to buy, you still got to pay for your electric bill or your gas bill or whatever it is. So one of the things that the Fed is trying to do, but they're trying to do it in small measures, which is really tricky, is they want to stimulate the rate of unemployment. They want to see more layoffs. They want to see a higher rate of unemployment. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing so because they're mean, cruel, vindictive people. I don't know these people. I can't say that they are or are not, but this is just part of the big picture. So they're trying to thread this needle and be Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, just right. It's a lot easier with something small and manageable, something gigantic like the economy, not just our economy, but the overall global economy. You can see that that's a little bit more of a messy proposition. You're juggling chainsaws, and it could be disastrous. What does a disaster look like? You may hear some things down the road, and I'm not a negative person, so please, this is not me being pessimistic. This is me just doing research and telling you where things could be. They're not, but they could be. One thing that we've got to be aware of is deflation, right? Deflation, the opposite of inflation. And those of you who don't spend every waking moment professionally dealing with the economy and mortgages and interest rates and all the factors that go into this, you're probably thinking, well, we want deflation, right? I mean, we have inflation, it comes down, then it's deflation, right? I mean, isn't that what we're trying to establish? Yes, but just a little bit, not a lot, not too much. It's really, really crazy. And what is deflation? Deflation basically means the cost of things just comes down. And yeah, that sounds like exactly what the Fed is trying to do, because when the cost of things comes down, doesn't that mean that the rate of inflation comes down as well? Yeah, it absolutely does. But here's where it gets very Goldilocks in its interpretation and application. When we get to a period, if we get to a period, and hopefully we don't, of deflation, what ends up happening is, think about your psyche, think about what's going on in your head right now as you're working through the economy in general, and as you see the cost of things going up or the cost of things going down, as you see that people are getting laid off perhaps, or that you're reading that the rate of unemployment is going up. In many cases, people are like, I want to be very, very conservative right now. I want to be safe with my money. I want to be judicious. I want to not take a lot of chances. I don't want to spend a lot of money because I don't know what's going to happen next month or this time next year or by the end of this year. I'm nervous about the economy. It's not there yet. It's certainly not growing right now. It's not the heyday and the roaring 20s that we were promised. And so I want to be conservative. And so people rightfully so, slow down their consumption, slow down their expenditures. And what ends up happening is the manufacturers and the retailers and these folks that present goods and services to the consuming public have to start slashing their prices in order to try to stimulate people to spend their money on these commodities. Well, if they don't buy these commodities, at some point the retailers and the manufacturers of these goods, they're underwater because they have certain costs that are that they have to bear in order to produce these things, in order to bring them to their stores, in order to make them available for sale and for purchase by us. And if no one's buying, then they have to cut costs and cut costs and cut costs. At some point, they start to lose money. And when they start to lose money, guess what else happens? They have to start letting more people go. And when they start letting more people go, because they got to cut costs somewhere, it's a cycle, right? And all of a sudden, our concerns of, well, I hear the economy's not great. I hear that layoffs are happening. I hear that other things are happening. That starts to perpetuate because now we're seeing that more layoffs are happening, and all of a sudden the cycle starts to feed on itself, and it's a loop of sorts. And so the more people see that things are not going well, the more they hold on to their dollars. The more they hold on to their dollars, the less things go well, the more people have to get laid off. And you can see that can become a really dangerous cycle. And the Fed is trying to avoid that, while at the same time feverishly working to control inflation and not let that flare up again. So I don't envy their job. I certainly am not a fan of the Fed. I'm not a fan of this particular Federal Reserve Board. But regardless, I'm a fan of humanity. I'm a fan of our economy. I'm a fan of the what we have and people in general having a good life and having an easier time of it. And right now, it's not easy. And in fact, let me check our time. Okay, we're good. We're good. The Federal Reserve Board, despite our great results just today and yesterday that were announced, they meet again on the 26th of this month, on the 26th of July. And all but two of the voting members of the Fed have indicated that they still think that they need to increase interest rates to make sure that inflation doesn't flare back up. So they want to increase their short-term interest rates at least twice more this calendar year. So that's going to be potentially costly. That's going to be potentially messy. And I don't know how the markets are going to react to that. I honestly don't. But that's where the Fed finds itself. And there's other stuff. I don't want to scare you guys or anything, but since we're talking about it, I'm going to throw one more thing out there about some weird sort of aspect of inflation. There is such a thing called stagflation as well, where the economy is stagnant, but inflation is really high, where there's high unemployment and high cost inflation. That's what we experienced in the late 1970s under Jimmy Carter and rolling into the early 1980s. That was the economy that Ronald Reagan was elected into, and he was elected by a very large majority, because stagflation is the worst of both worlds. That high unemployment that I said the Fed's trying to create anyway in order to create a reduction of inflation, but that stubborn inflation that just won't go away. So you got people not working and things costing a lot at the same time. That's also out there. So the Fed's got to like really navigate this minefield in a very methodical and very deliberate way. And my concern is that these people, up until recently, have not demonstrated a lot of wisdom. They have not read the tea leaves well. They have not judged the potential for mishap very well. They let things get way too hot with zero interest rates. And then in March of 2022, so what, only 15 months ago, 14 months ago, somewhere like that, then they just jacked up the interest rates, the highest increase in interest rates in 50 years. So this does not suggest to me a group of scholars who are like, let's be measured, let's be principled. I think that they've kind of made a big mess of it. And I hope that they make a better correction as we go along. But things are starting to move in the right direction. So let's close this out. We've got a few more minutes. Let's close this out by saying that first and foremost, we're going in the right direction. And it's better to be going in the right direction, albeit slowly, than to be going in the wrong direction. So that's good news. When things do, and there's still people buying homes. I'm talking to first-time home buyers right now. In fact, after this 30-minute Thursday, I've got a call with some home buyers who are moving here from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They wanted to get through the winter, which is not the best time of year here, and see if they could handle it before settling down. And now that they're in the summertime and they're absolutely loving it, they're definitely wanting to buy a house. And there's a lot of people like this. And there's a lot of people asking, is this the right time? Should I be buying right now? And my answer is always yes, you should be buying right now. This is the right time, especially in the Pacific Northwest, because we don't have a huge inventory. We never have, we never will. It's just a feature or a bug, however you want to call it, of land use policies here in the Pacific Northwest, of available development land here in the Pacific Northwest, and the sheer cost of buying land and waiting for the process of being permitted to build homes. It just takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. And as a result of that, we have a shortage of inventory. So my answer to questions about should I buy right now, especially in the Pacific Northwest, my answer is always yes. Because if you can afford it now, get in there while the competition is low, because a lot of people are still sitting on the sidelines thinking, you know, I want to buy when interest rates are lower so I can, quote unquote, afford more house. And I get that. I truly get that. But keep in mind that in 2021, when things were gangbusters and interest rates were at 3%, let's say, the average cost above asking price that all clients that I worked with and across the board that I was aware of, the average home was selling for 15% above asking price at that time because the competition was so fierce. So yes, the mortgage interest rates were lower. Yeah, that's great. But if you were buying, let's say, $1 million house, be prepared to spend 1.15 million, $150,000 above that. So yeah, the interest rate was lower, but you're in a bidding war now. And so it's a trade-off, like everything else in life. It's a trade-off. And I always tell people, buy as much house as you can afford right now, get whatever it is that you can get, even though the interest rate is higher than you'd like it to be, because we'll be able to refinance at some point. Will it be at 3%? Probably not. To be perfectly honest, hold on, I got 2 minutes. Let me just tell you, I think that a 3% interest rate, and I was really happy to do that for people. I was really happy to refinance my own mortgage at that interest rate. But I think that something like that is probably a symptom of a very unhealthy economy. We just weren't aware of just how unhealthy. And while it sounded great and while it was wonderful for the people who secured that, look at where we've been over the last 18 months as a result of those super low interest rates that were kind of manipulated by the Fed and the powers that be because we're coming out of the pandemic. Everything's a trade-off. I would say that a 3% interest rate is probably not going to be around again. I don't know. I wish I did know. If I knew, then I'd be over on Wall Street or somewhere in Chicago or somewhere else at one of those markets doing other things. But the economy is getting healthier. We're definitely not out of the woods. We certainly have a lot of different things that could happen along the way. So by all means, be cautious, be aware of your situation, save money, be prepared, keep your jobs, keep working. But at the same time, if you're thinking about buying a home, this is a really, really good time to do it because there's not as much competition. And if you're in a position to do that and you need to do that, this is a great time, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Once those interest rates do come down firmly, a lot of people are going to jump in this market and it's going to create competition with a very small amount of inventory, and that will increase prices. So take everything with a grain of salt. But having said that, we're up we're up. Our time is up. It's amazing how fast this goes for me. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm sorry that I didn't even post anything last weekend or last Thursday, that I wasn't going to be here. I apologize. I'll do better. I will be here next week. I'm trying to do the math. Yes, I will be here next week. I look forward to seeing you guys again. If you've got any questions, please reach me. I'm happy to answer any questions. You know where to find me. If you're seeing me, you know how to find me. And until then, please stay safe, stay healthy. I got to get my words right. Stay sane and enjoy the summer. Good grief, it is glorious out there. Get out and enjoy the sunshine. Have a wonderful day, a fantastic weekend, and I will see you a semana próxima next week. Y'all take care. Thanks again. Bye-bye.